Welcome back everyone to Classified Road to Vegas first semi-final today in Berlin. Sorry for that, we had a little bit of a technical problem there, and so we missed a few laps, but we're on lap 22 now, and Alexei Usi is still leading from Graham Carroll, and Bono Huis, Mark Caster and Louis Dalmau are the 5 drivers looking set at the moment to qualify for the final tomorrow. But yeah, I don't think we missed anything too important there, luckily, so again, apologies for that. We just had an electrical issue, which has since been sorted, so we can continue as we were.
Back just in time for the pit stops, I should imagine. Lap 23 of 48, so it's starting to look like halfway through the race. Wouldn't be surprised to see Usi dive into the pits at the end of this lap.
Well, he might.
He sounds skeptical.
I don't know. I think Usi, when you're in the lead, there's always that temptation to stretch the stint out for as long as you want, especially if his pace is good. You see Alex Diaf coming in now from 6th place, so that means that Milnek will temporarily jump up to. Oh, as we see Martin's coming in too, just behind, so that means that Milnek will jump up to 6th, but it's artificial, of course, because he hasn't stopped yet. So he'll be 24 seconds behind Dalmau now, and that sounds like a big gap to emerge back into, I think.
That's Usi and Carroll, both pushing this stint a little bit longer. Huis as well. We're not seeing any pit stops from the leading pack here.
Yeah, I did say, didn't I?
Yeah, no, you got it right. You called it.
Yeah, kind of by luck, really. If just one of them had come in, I would have looked very foolish. But ooh, is that a move for position at the back? Is David Legraf finally got past Pedro Martins for 8th place, or is this because of Martins having pit? I think that's because he's pit. Yeah. Always a little bit hard to tell sometimes with these pit stops, but
yeah, I mean Martins is only 1 second behind Legraf.
I believe that's just where he's filtered out, because Martins was running in 7th before all this, and Milnek was running 8th, and he's sort of profited from Diaf and Martins pitting in. As Usi now coming in with Carroll just behind. Carroll really trying to break as late as he dares. Maybe he didn't break the pit lane speed limit. Anyone else coming in? No, it looks like it's just our 2 leaders then. So here they go in the box. Let's hope that they have a clean stop this time. It didn't. Yeah, Carroll looking like he's actually getting into the box this time, unlike in Paris. Dalmau actually following them in, so we should see him on screen in a few seconds. Off they go. Very quick stop from both of them, but positions remain the same.
Right, Bono Huis now having his moment in the sun, leading the race. Going to be, here we are on board with him coming through the 2nd sector. So this is the flowing few corners.
I wonder how
dive into the hairpin, accelerate out. So is he going to do one more lap than the leaders, or is he going to push his advantage a little bit further?
He might push it further, because depending on how long you can stretch it, he might be able to. As we see, is he going to go in? Looks like he isn't. He's going out for another lap. I wasn't quite tell that. But I think it makes sense to stretch out the stint, because that way he has a bit more usable energy at the end of the race, and that way he can push a bit harder and maybe gain positions, because that's sort of what Bono Huis needs to do now if he wants to get by at least Graham Carroll and maybe Usi as well. But it may be that Usi is at least kind of gotten a bit out of reach for Bono Huis. But yeah, he's still going to lead the race, and how are his lap times? He's 21 seconds ahead of, 23 ahead of Gassner, who's just come out of the pits now. Although I believe he'll be retaken by Usi and Graham Carroll got past Usi somehow. I think he has. And while we've been watching Huis going around, it looks like Carroll. So is Usi come in again? He seems to have hit trouble somewhere. This is him just coming back out now from a 2nd pit stop, I think. But yeah, this is a real dramatic disaster for Alexei Usi, I think, and it's really handed the advantage to Graham Carroll, I think. As Bono Huis coming in now, so Carroll is in the lead. Where is Usi in the order? He seems to be in 5th. I think he will come out behind. Bono Huis might come out ahead of him as well. This is Huis we're watching now from the lead, and he was 23 seconds ahead of Graham Carroll before he pit. I think Carroll may just slip ahead here. Let's see what happens, but really love to see what happened to Usi. It may have been that he just maybe he wasn't fueled properly. It may have been a bug there, or maybe he hit the wall and took damage and needed to replace front rig. That's the only thing I could see happening. Is Carroll has taken the lead. Huis 2nd, Gassner 3rd, Dalmau 4th, and Usi in 5th now. So in real danger here if he makes any more mistakes, and that's exactly what Alex Diaf, 2 seconds down, will want to see.
For sure. I mean, Uzi there, a great shame for him, not just because of today's race, but because that adds 15 seconds to his race time. It's going to end up affecting the way he qualifies for tomorrow's final. That's if he does qualify. I mean, he's on the button right now. 5th place. You think Diaz can bring it to him?
Diaz doesn't really have the pace. I think Diaz will have to be quite. And he's already nearly 3 seconds behind now. He was a second behind, like what felt like a few seconds ago. And I think Usy's going to push like crazy now, or to try and catch up at least to Dalmau. This is really good for Dalmau because suddenly he's got a 12-second buffer to 5th place, and so he's sort of in a really comfortable position in terms of qualifying. Although I'm sure ideally want to do more than qualify, you want to be at the front if you can, but I'm not sure Dalmau has quite got the, all due respect, I don't think he's quite got the pace or the ability on this racetrack in order to do anything as special as Carroll or Huis or even Usi. But, I say even Usi, especially Usi, because he had great pace in the hot laps.
Seeing Usi running 53.6 is his best lap time, 54.1 is Dalmau's best. Say there's a 6-second gap between the two of them. A 12-second gap. I'm struggling to see which number to refer to there, but a large gap nonetheless. So it'll be interesting to see if that can come down towards the end of the race. If Usi can apply the pressure to Dalmau. Right now,
so what's happened to Usi is pit 2 times in a row. Lap 24, average lap here is 54.50 or a high 53. He's on lap 24 he set a 1 minute 31, which is when he first pit along with Carroll. On lap 25, 1 minute 24. So yeah, that just shows how much time he's lost with that second start. And Usi had a drive-through for speeding in the pit lane entry, just being told. And oh, that's really unlucky. I thought it was Carroll who was on the bubble there, braking quite late for the limiter, but it looks like it was Usi who has broken the speed limit, 54 kilometers per hour. That's what he entered at, and it's a 50 kilometers per hour limit. So it wasn't over by much, but it was enough to completely compromise his afternoon. I want to say wreck because it's not all out. It's not all over for him yet, and it's difficult to overtake here. So if he stays where he's going to have a difficult final, but he's going to be in the final and get a few points from it, and that could make all the difference at the season's end. So Usi needs to keep his head together and sort of keep his head up and sort of keep going. Well, obviously keep going. I mean, that goes without saying.
Yeah, I mean, still in a qualifying position. Still, you get the same points, championship-wise, from finishing 1st to 5th in these heat races. So not necessarily a big loss for Uzi. He's managing now to pull that gap to Diaz a little bit further. So he's a little bit further away from 6th place, less likely to get attacked. So, yeah, I mean, not the end of the world for Uzi, but not ideal either. And 54 miles an hour, come on, that's in 10%, that's fine.
Yeah, if you let people go away with the rules a little bit, then it's sort of the rules go out the window before you know it, Ali. You make a terrible steward.
Yeah,
Good thing we have the class guys to enforce it. But yeah, the laissez-faire stewards.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Usi, it definitely makes sense that it was a drive-through the second time because Usi's lap time was about a couple of seconds quicker through the pits on 25 than 26. Oh, no, 25 than 24 rather. But yeah, and this is really what Graham Carroll, he's sort of his main rival in this race, has taken himself out. I did sort of, it's a first prediction I've got wrong today. Usi, I thought he'd win comfortably, but yeah, and he no doubt kicking himself a little bit after that. But he has gained a second on Dalmau, so I don't think Dalmau is completely as safe as I maybe suggested earlier. I think that Usi has definitely got the pace to at least get into 4th place, but I think maybe 3rd, 2nd, it might be a bit too far out of reach with that 7-second gap from Dalmau to Gassner.
Here we are on board with Dalmau, the man being hunted right now, and that's not going to help. A big lockup on the way into the hairpin. That's the drift corner we've seen people.
Full opposite lock into that hairpin. I mean, it's like he was. That's not something you see very often, and really just shows either that he's pushing or that to stay in front of Usi. He's actually gained 2 seconds on Usi on this lap somehow, so it must have been a good drift, I guess, or Usi's done the same thing or whatever. But,
Our drift.
although it has come back down now to 10.8 seconds, so that may have just been a timing glitch because Uzi was still completing the previous lap. But yeah, Dalmau really he's gonna feel the pressure, not right now, but maybe it's in the closing stages. I think lap 33 of 48. So how many laps to go? That means I believe that's about 15 laps to go. As we see Dalmau locking up again, but not quite so dramatically this time. I mean, phew. Real heart-stopping moment there, but yeah, Dalmau definitely proving himself to be an exciting driver to watch, but not necessarily the fastest out track we've seen today.
Well, running in a solid 4th position. I mean, he's had quite a quiet race
Yeah,
up
that
to
was
this
a 54
point.
that last lap, by the way.
He's getting there. He's 4th place in this kind of competition points to quite a lot of talent behind the wheel. So he's
Yeah, absolutely. It's all relative, I guess, but yeah, he's definitely there because he qualified well. He's there because he's merited done a performance that merits him being there, obviously. But yeah, but it could be that it's going to be incredibly difficult for him to gain any more further positions without misfortune for Carroll, who Gas knows. Again, he tried to turn a bit too early and had to correct there. Yeah, really fascinating to watch the way he drives and sort of compare and contrast the different driving styles. It looks like Dalmau has been quite aggressive and sort of oversteery, particularly. Although, yeah, definitely a bit oversteery. Yeah, so 14 laps left to go now, and can't see too much drama happening unless someone else does a pit stop or something. I think. Let's look a bit further down. David Legraf has actually gotten by both Mielnek and Martins while we're watching the fall of Uzi up front, and yes, that's very good for David Legraf and sort of about what we hoped and expected he would do. Who has the fastest lap right now? It's still Uzi, I think, from earlier. So he'll get 2 points for that at least. So that means he would be. Oh no, wait, not in this race, of course. That's the final that you get points for fastest lap. It's purely just a trivial note here.
Yeah,
it's in
for
the
sure.
final that it counts. So forgive me for that indiscretion there. Getting that. Yeah. 17-second gap from no, that's the lead from Dalmau to Carroll, and 27 seconds is the lead that Carroll has over Uzi in 5th. So yeah, I can't see the gaps getting any. I can't see the gap shifting dramatically too much here. And does Carroll got he's covered? Do you reckon?
It's difficult. It's been holding steady on between 2 and 3 seconds for a few laps now.
This is
If this
about the
was
gap
tomorrow,
it was when
if we were in a final right now, then I would say like I think Hoos might push because I don't think Carroll looks that comfortable around this track. I think he's looked in better shape. Certainly around Long Beach, he looked unstoppable. Here we're
he was
seeing
pretty
him
good around
slide.
Paris as well until he had the wheel issue. His
Yeah,
overtakes
yeah.
in Paris are great. Well, one of them was anyway. We didn't see all of them obviously because I think some of them happened in the pits and some of them happened due to penalties ahead. But yeah, Graham Carroll definitely. I think whatever track you put him on, he's going to be able to get good times out of the thing. But like you say, yeah, it takes a while to get comfortable, and he has been practicing quite a lot, I think. So I don't think it's for lack of effort that Carroll isn't the most comfortable on this track. But yeah, I think he's definitely having to hustle a bit in order to get the lap times out. So yeah, it might be something to do with the setup there that's not quite nailed on. But,
I
we'll
think
see.
it'll be interesting to see later on in these groups. People like Gregor Hutu. What kind of pace they're putting in around here on a race in a race situation.
Well, I'll just have a little quick check of the hot laps and show you what sort of pace Hutu was doing. Hutu actually struggled. He was quite low down the time boards. And he managed to get up to 7th near the end. And Hutu's best lap, I think, is a 52.884, which is pretty good. We haven't seen any 52s in this semi-final particularly, but in the later ones where there's a few more, because we have 12 in each group, I think. So in the later ones, if we get closer to 12 turning up, we might see more rubber laying down, and that would mean better lap times as a result of the extra grip. As we watch Mielnek in the bright yellow car driving around down in 8th place. So he has gained a position on Martins, but he's lost one to Legraf. And is he going to try and catch up to Legraf? I think we definitely saw that Legraf was better on the brakes. That if there was a move, that's probably how he did it. Although I suspect it may have been during the pit stop days that Lade just had a a cleaner pit stop and was able to undercut Milnek somehow, or overcut it could have been, because I believe Milnek pitted first. Yeah, he did, didn't he? On sort of about lap 24-25.
Yeah, sure, for sure. I mean, Legraf and Milnek, you know, both had a really decent battle earlier on in this race. I think Legraf is showing better pace around here, but we've seen a few mistakes from him. I wouldn't be surprised to see that 2.7 second gap just disappear one of these laps. Here we go, we're on with Graham Carroll now, just trying to pass the back marker.
And I think what you said about Carroll's true, because he's not set any of the purple best sector times in this race. He's not fastest in any of the sectors, but he has just been able to be there or thereabouts. And I think maybe what Carroll will say, well, Usi was unlucky, but I was unlucky in my semi-final last time out, as Martins dutifully moves out the way on lap 39. And I wonder if Martins is going to hold up Bono Reus a bit. It could be. Carroll got quite lucky there in terms of where he came upon him. But yeah, do you think that's how Carroll is going to rationalise what happened to Usi, and so that it was just karma for what happened before? Well, it wasn't Usi's fault, obviously. What happened is just the wheel manufacturer.
Yeah, he should have worn his lucky underpants. I don't know. You know, I think they're all pushing pretty hard. It's a tough pit lane. We saw Carroll locking up on the way in as well. Everyone's pushing. It's a coin flip sometimes. You know, you don't. Of course, you practice your pit lane entries before a race like this, but how many times do you practice them? You know, is it? I don't know. Some them things.
I think you never really think of the pit stop as a place where you can gain time, really. But as we've seen here, it's a place where you can lose time if you get it wrong.
Certainly lose a lot.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you still feel a bit frustrated, but he's not down and out yet. Especially if he makes it to the final, I think he might be grateful just to get some points. And like we said, because the red line guys want to help him out a little bit, except maybe for Bono Reus, he's probably still thinking about himself, but unfortunately for him. But yeah, I definitely think that Usi can definitely make ground in the final. And I hope his arm's healed up a bit. He's going to need it.
Who's making a very smooth move past the back marker there. Just going to be
so he didn't get
not losing any time at all. Yeah.
Another poor prediction from Edward here.
Hey, you nailed the first one, man. You got the pit stops just right.
Yeah, but I guess he can't get it all right. If he knew everything, it'd be boring. Yeah. So anyway, 3.5 second gap is the lead that Carroll has over Reus. Mark Gastner actually doing quite strongly in this. A bit under the radar, but he is the fastest first sector, I think, and he's 8 seconds down, so not quite as consistent, not lapping quite as consistently as the two leaders, but he is kept in reach, and he's going to profit quite a lot. I remember he was quite impressive to get to the final and sort of finish strongly in the mid pack in Paris, and now he's sort of doing another really strong performance here on his home turf, of course. So. Dalmal in fourth, of course, still 9 seconds behind Gastner now, and Usi is half the gap. Dalmal, it's 6 seconds now, but with 6 laps left, I can't quite see Usi getting close enough to make a move. I think Dalmal may just be safe unless his pace drops off dramatically. But Usi has been lapping very strongly, desperately trying to catch up, I think, setting low 54s consistently, a couple of high 53s as well. Yeah.
Sure. And I mean, the closer Usi gets to Dalmal by the end of this race, the better his qualifying chances are for tomorrow's final.
Yeah, he may be in the sort of last 4 on the grid, but he might be, let's say, 17th instead of 20th or so. Which could, you never know what could happen, especially at that first corner.
I agree. Yeah, absolutely. Very true. And I mean, also later on today, this has been a very, very clean, very straightforward heat race for tomorrow's final. And so I think you're going to find the race times at the end of this are going to be maybe faster than a few of the later races that might get a little bit more
That's exactly what
bumping and grinding.
Wants to hear.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, but on the other hand, you've got to say with only 9 cars running for most of the race, that, like I said, there's not quite so much rubber on the track. Although you wouldn't think it, looking at what's laid down at that first corner. But yeah, I think there's a potential for the later groups to be a bit quicker, but it depends on the probably a bit more, like you say, on the individuals, because it's all about the same amount of guys who have qualified for each final, 12 each, so semi-final rather. But yeah, so we count down the laps now with 5 to go, I think. 4 or 5, yeah, because I think Carroll's after this one he'll start when there'll be 4 laps left on lap 44. In fact, yeah, he has to start because of the timing placement of the line confused me there. But yeah,
on board with Hoos coming into this chicane now.
Luis is probably taking it a bit easier now. Like he's nearly 4 seconds behind, so he's kept the gap stable. But I think he knows that not really going to get past unless something divine intervention happens for him. But yeah, I think Hoos will be quite content. I think everyone who's profited from Usi's speeding in the pits will be happy with this race. The likes of a Diaf, David Lame will probably be quite happy, I think. But Diaf, Milnek, Martins, and of course Dinimbe, who we lost earlier, they'll all be a little bit quite disappointed, I think. Especially Dinimbe would have hoped to finish.
That's very true. I mean, the points that he could have picked up, even for 10th place, would have been useful.
Yeah, would have made all the difference
forward in the championship.
Yeah. So anyway, on Carol, actually, I was a bit wrong. They actually just started lap 45. We're on lap 46 now. The 3 leaders have just started it, and there's the only real important gap here, I think, is Usi to Dalmau. About 4 seconds now. So he's cutting into it, but and Dalmau 10 seconds actually behind Gaffner, so he's really starting to struggle slightly. It's been sort of mid 54s, and Usi's been taking 10 chunks out of him, but is there enough time? I'm really not sure. I think Usi might try something a bit desperate here, just to gain a position and gain a few places on the grid if he gets close enough. But can he get close enough in the time left?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those interesting compromises, isn't it? You know, too far back to make a move right now. But were he to throw something on Dalmau, we're watching Dalmau right here. Were Usi to throw a move on him or try to? Oh, that's a big gap. I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, were it the case though that he was closer, you kind of think you're always going to slow yourself down and the other guy if you make a move, and that could mean somebody in another race. You know, you can imagine that car as a ghost going around the track. Might be able to whip past you both, and get a better qualifying position for tomorrow. So what looks like an advantage on the track can often be leading.
Yeah. A lot of the time, like you say, it's sort of drivers playing mental tricks with themselves. Just, as we see Dalmau, thought he was going to spin out there. But yeah, very late and heavy on the brakes there, and it just sort of luridly sliding and losing control. You can tell there's a lot of pressure on Dalmau to keep this position from Alexei Usi. The gap now I think it's under 4 seconds, or it might just be about 4 seconds. He may have gotten away with that. So I think Usi maybe didn't quite recover quickly enough from his pit lane misdemeanor. But yeah, just a frustrating race for Alexei Usi, knowing that if he had just been a little bit more cautious, he'd have had an easy win here, and he was doing everything right up to that point.
The last time through the second sector now with Graham Carroll. We're going to watch him as he comes through these twisting corners. So great to see these FE cars coming through these fast-flowing ones where they really use the downforce. Back round onto the back straight, and he'll be taking the checkered flag.
After this, only one more corner to go, and once he gets through that final corner, Graham Carroll will win the first semi-final in Berlin for the Cloud Sport Road to Vegas. Here we go. Comes through just behind the back marker, but he won't trouble him anymore. Crosses the line, and he takes the victory. With Bono, who's second, Mark Gaston will be 7 seconds behind in third. Then should be Louis Dalmau. He is still just under 4 seconds ahead of Alexei Usi. And then missing out will be Alex Diaf, David Legraf, Matej Milnek, Pedro Martins. Pedro Martins is just finishing lap down, and Hiram Dinibe did not finish, obviously due to the issue at the chicane where he mysteriously stopped. He has since been cleared, and the race continued without him. So yeah, few surprises there in that in the semi-final. I guess the top it's the same lane players we expected to get through, just in a slightly different order.
Yeah,
back
absolutely.
At Carroll's helmet, he'll be celebrating with that. I think exactly the start he needed as he rushes into the pit lane. Don't go too quickly, Graham. You've seen how that can undo you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, live by the sword, die by the sword. You know, Carroll there, yeah, I mean, a great performance. You know, didn't put a foot wrong all race. He put the pressure on Usi, and sometimes that's enough. You know, you put the pressure on, the guy in front makes a mistake, and Usi, you know, very, very rightly punished for speeding in the pit lane. It's a rule you can't really break. a shame for him though to see him not finishing in second place or even first and down in fifth.
Yeah. So, quick reminder then that that's all the action from this first group, but we have a second group coming up at, I believe it would be 3:30, wouldn't it? Because this one was at 10:30, and the time says 3, but often that's just to get ready. Yeah, we should be back at 3:30, if not before then, maybe. But yeah, the second group has Enzo Benito, local man Patrick Holtzman, very strong, of course. Jesus Cecilia third, Daniel Kiss as well in that group, as well as 3 Americans. Douglas Hawkins has been quite strong. Ricky Wilson looking to avenge the misfortune that happened in Paris. Walter Wedgeworth, Mark Behrens also quite fairly strong, but not made a final yet. Then we have the likes of Lucas Mollman, Lorenzo Lucidi, Diego Jimenez, and Jonathan Main. So they are yet to come. We've still got the others like Dino Gray Hutu, Oli Picala, Mohamed Patel, David Greco, all sorts of great drivers still come in the groups after that later today. So, final thoughts before wrapping up?
Yeah, I mean, a fantastic race. I think it's going to be really interesting to see over the course of the day who can run the cleanest race, who can get away best from pole. You know, Carroll lost time in the first half of that race. You have to remember that too, while Uzi was leading. So he's not invincible. He's not necessarily going to take pole tomorrow.
But he has at least set down the marker, and who is going to challenge that marker? We'll find out later today at 3:30 for the second semi-final, the Cloud Sport Road to Vegas competition at Berlin. Sponsored by Playseat and of course powered by Formula E. Really enjoyed that first semi-final. Back for more later today. Thanks for watching. See you soon.